Good evening. We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. At this time, our clerk will read the roll.
Here. Connor. Davis. DeShazier. Fusco. Garrett.
Present.
Hannah. Kamer. Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Mobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present except for Councilman DeShazier.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, will you please stand at this time as we are led in prayer by Pastor Rocco Wellington from Greater Harvest Church of God in Christ. Immediately following our prayer, I'm going to ask if Councilman Kamer will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we lift our mayor and council members up to you today. We ask, Lord, that you would bless each and every one. Fill this place with your presence. Give us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that it takes to run this city. We ask, the Lord, your blessing in this place and within our city. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections? Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The motion to approve the minutes passes 11-0.
We're now going to move to our public comment period. I'm going to ask all those who have signed up to participate if you'll please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in by our clerk.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. When you hear your name, please approach the podium. And we're going to start off with Donnie Brooks.
Hello, I'm Donnie Brooks, the CEO of the Akron Baseball Project Incorporated. I was here about a month ago. I gave my background as a baseball player. I just found some interesting facts, how in today's time in the MLB, it's 949 Major League Baseball players. Only 57 of them are African American. I find that to be not good. I graduated high school 15 years ago. It was at 9%. Right now it's at 6%. It went down 3% in 15 years. Like I said before, baseball saved my life. And I just need the support of our Akron Council. I have a camp coming up August 17th for back to school for the youth, ages 4 to 15, boys and girls. Like I mentioned before, all of my coaches are elite. That's on my team. Former D1 college players, et cetera, including myself. And we're just trying to do something to keep these kids active and also keep their minds active. Like everyone knows, baseball is a 90% mental game and a 10% physical game. In Akron, baseball is obsolete. Back when I came up in the 90s, I'm 32. Baseball was really live. Within the past 20 years in Akron, it has diminished. My mother, she had me in West Akron Little League as a child. And then when the year 2000 hit, she put me in baseball leagues like Farallon, Copley, Stowe, Hudson, and et cetera. And I want to see baseball in my community where I came up in. I want to see baseball thrive. I want to see our children, our students thrive. And like I said before, I would just love the support from City Council. And once upon a time, baseball, we had our own league in the 40s and 50s, which was the Negro Leagues. We had a league. It was dismantled, of course. At the time, African Americans didn't have their rights in America until 1964. So we got all of our funding from donations. So we had like Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays, and et cetera. they were getting 2,000 contracts, $2,000 contracts, but then the MLB offered them $5,000 a season. Of course they'll leave. So then that was dismantled. So I just want to see, once again, like I said, for the council to help the Akron Baseball Project in any way. It can be financial support, it can be sponsor support, anything that you guys can do, even show up as a service, say, hey, we're here, we support you. And that's all I want to say this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brooks. Tim Hayek?
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Tim Heidick. I am an officer with the National Association of Letter Carriers. Our union represents the city letter carriers in Akron and surrounding communities. I was here a couple months ago about our annual food drive that happens the second Saturday in May. I just wanted to come back and give you guys an update. This year, we collected, for our union, our local union, collected 21,460 pounds of food. That went to the Akron Canton Regional Food Bank. I'd like to thank you guys, anything you may have done to help. I thank you for your time giving me tonight. Although 21,000 pounds of food sounds like a good amount, pre-COVID, we were in the 50,000 pound area. So, I mean, there's reasons people say inflation, people say COVID, whatever. That's for us to try and figure out, my union and my fellow members that are on this food drive committee. We're trying to get more. We need to get more. Just to give you an idea, around the area here, Canton collected 30,000 pounds. Springfield, 32,000 pounds. Zanesville, 66,000 pounds. So we can do better. I appreciate all you guys have done. I will be back to thank you, to look for support next year. I mean, hunger is a big thing, and this is a really easy project to do. You simply put non-perishable food items by your mailbox the second Saturday in May. Your mail carrier will pick them up, bring them back to the post office, and we will get them to the Akron Canton Regional Food Bank. All you have to do is step out your door, put the food by your mailbox, we'll pick it up. It's the easiest thing to do. And we can really make a dent in the hunger in Akron. I mean, this shouldn't happen in our backyard. It really shouldn't. Kids should not go to bed hungry in Akron, Ohio, and we can make a difference. So I'm asking you guys, first of all, I'm thanking you guys for anything you might have done this year, and I will be back next spring to talk again to try and get to get more food to the Akron Canton Regional Food Banks. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Kevin, and I don't want to mispronounce your last name, so help me out. Sorry.
It's Goskowski.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me speak this evening. My name is Kevin Goskowski. I'm the president of Akron Firefighters Local 330, and I represent the men and women of the Akron Fire Department. I'm here tonight to speak on the proposed Safety Forces Amendment, which is going to come before you. This has nothing to do with safety, has everything to do with politics. It needs a no vote from this council. Politicians, retired members of the safety forces were asked to be part of this amendment committee. With all the daily social media talk from this city about employee first, no active duty police officer or firefighter was asked to be part of this committee. That impacts their careers directly. Additionally, not even a simple survey went out to those folks. The catchphrase about this has been a robust process and candidate pool. We filed a grievance to get eligible district chiefs and deputy chiefs to be interviewed for the deputy chief and chief's position, which has gone back to 2016, 2022, essentially opening that pool. The city ignored that grievance, promoted with the grievance still unresolved. When the deputy chief position became open, Local 330 sent a letter asking for the HR director to abolish that list and allow 3 other individuals to be able to apply for that position. That also, according to the HR handbook, was still denied by the city. The charter amendment fails to address when an external candidate search would commence. When pressed by council last Monday, the committee could not answer why. That's the same question that the members of this fire department, as well as the recruits for this fire department, will be asking the city in the future. Why should I want to work for Akron? And why should I stay here? The legislation tells current and future employees that no matter how hard you work, your desire or qualifications, a politician will hire anyone, no matter their skill set. This career is still a trade. It takes a lot of knowledge, skill, and a little bit of guts to be a firefighter, especially here in the city of Akron. We put our faith in the people next to us on that rig to bring us home every day, as well as our leaders to make sure that the policies are set forth the right way. Politics should not creep into our promotions for our officers. If you want to make a political appointment, we suggest bringing back the Deputy Mayor of Public Safety that has not been filled since Chief Tucker retired. If it's diversity we seek, Local 330 is all in and we're here for the conversation. But it needs to start from the bottom up. Seek those that want to make Akron a career, not a stop on their way to a suburban department or to find out it's not like it is on TV and move on within a couple of years. This legislation should receive a no vote from council, should be scrapped as it's a detriment to recruiting, retention, and most importantly, morale. Local 330 will oppose this legislation moving forward, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for sharing. David Garan.
David Garan, good evening. Public comments are made to help educate you, council people, and to drive you to action. The pending sale of SUMA system to a venture capitalist, HATCO, and a subsidiary of General Catalyst, is going to take a great asset of Ohio, of Akron, to Massachusetts. That's where HATCO resides, and it's incorporated in Delaware. We are going to lose control of SUMA. Whatever decisions are made will be made in Massachusetts. Now, supposedly they're only wanting 1% to 2% return, which is quite strange because you can get that kind of return on a money market fund. And what they actually are saying is they want to run experiments on SUMA. They want to develop computer systems that'll eventually replace most of the 8,500 people that work for SUMA with various computerized machines. This is not a way to run a hospital system. So what I'm asking of the council here is for you to stand up at the end of the meeting and voice your opinion on this. We need you to stand up and say this is not good for the city of Akron. Not good for, they cover 5 counties. And it's going to devastate this hospital system. It is going to turn our employees at SUMA into lab rats. And the patients. Are you willing to do that to the citizens of Akron, of Summit County? You need to speak up. You need to show your opposition to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garan. That concludes our public comment period. We want to thank everyone who came down to participate. Before you is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The consent agenda passes 11-0.
We'll now move into old business. Rules, Councilman McKittrick.
Continued time, please, Madam President.
Thank you. Time will be granted. Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco.
Item number 6, I believe, is our first. That will be suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This is to enter into a lease agreement with the Legal Defender's Office of Summit County to utilize Akron Municipal Court Building, also known as the Oliver Ocasek Building, at about an $18.80 per square foot, 1,254 square feet, and, 1,246 square feet, for about a 5-year term, I believe, and it has minimal escalators. So that's number 6, and we're requesting passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. The request of the committee is to approve item number 7. This explanation for this is the 2024 CDBG home and ESG budget, and everyone received a copy of that. We had quite a few questions this afternoon. I guess the big disturbing trend about this is that we have seen a reduction from the federal government in terms of the home from the HUD. In terms of home funds, ESG funds as well. And this is primarily due to more and more communities requesting these funds from the feds. I don't believe that they've increased the actual budget itself, but it's just more slices of pie for other communities. So, but with that, we recommend approval.
Thank you. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. Item number 8, approval by the committee. This references the vape shop legislation that we had discussed a while back, and it's primarily distancing requirements, and we also talked about the possibility in the future we could always amend this, but perhaps we talked with planning about the possibility of looking at schools and distancing requirements in terms of those in vape shops as well. So with that, we're recommending approval. This is also patterned after something similar to what we did with the dollar stores. So with that, approval.
Thank you. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0.
Councilman Fusco?
Okay, item number 9, this references the recreational marijuana use. All of these will come into City Council whenever there's a request for the retail sales piece of it, the recreational piece of it, including those that are already approved by us for medical use. So with that, we're recommending approval, as we are getting some, from what we understand, some applications coming in. So we'll be looking at that in the future. But with this, we're recommending approval.
Thank you. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. Item number 10, recommend approval. This is the $500,000 of home funds that we're requesting for the Wintergreen Ledges Apartments, also known as Tober Development Company project, off of Romig Road there, for approximately 120 affordable housing units.
Thank you. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0.
Councilman Fusco?
Time on 11 and 12. The committee requests to file 13 through 18. Those are public hearings that we've had in the past. And then time on the balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Time will be granted. Public service, Councilman Kamer. Thank you. Time will be granted. That concludes our old business. We'll now move into new legislation.
Item number 1, offered by Lombardo, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with National Testing Network to provide background check services for Akron's safety forces and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo,
The committee's report is favorable, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, the National Testing Network will conduct these background checks for our safety forces in lieu of them doing it themselves, and they can focus on their regular work.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item 1A, offered by Lombardo, ordinance authorizing the Director of Law or her designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Voorhees, Sater, Seymour, and Peace LLP for the provision of professional legal services for the City of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo,
The committee's report is favorable, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
So this legal team has some more experience with labor arbitration and will represent the city in an upcoming case. Thank you.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item 1B, offered by Lombardo, ordinance authorizing the issuance of a bond of the city in a principal amount not to exceed $8,500,000 for sale to the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund of the State of Ohio to finance the costs of renewable energy facility polymer system improvements, pledging certain revenues from the city's wastewater system on a subordinated basis to secure the payment of the principal of and interest on the bond, and authorizing the execution and delivery of the bond, the trust agreement, and other documents, and the taking of other actions related to the issuance and sale of the bond, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo,
Again, the committee's report is favorable, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
thank you. Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This will allow the mayor to apply for a water pollution control loan fund and enter into an agreement with the Ohio EPA for the construction of the renewable energy facility polymer system improvement project.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 1C, offered by Lombardo, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement or agreements with Youth Success Summit in furtherance of the activities and services it provides to organizations serving Akron's youth and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lombardo,
The committee's report is favorable, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
So this grant will fund the establishment and operation of the Youth Success Summit, increasing equitable youth participation in after-school and summer programs, and decrease the incidence of violence.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 2, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing a conditional use to vary the parking requirement at 360 to 454 East Waterloo Road and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
For a public hearing?
this item will be referred.
Item number 3, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a solid wooden fence beyond the building line at 2016 Kramer Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
For a public hearing?
this item will be referred.
Item number 4, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a grant agreement with Akron Polymer Products, Inc. and/or SA Industries, Inc., relating to its relocation and investment into Akron's workforce and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
Consent agenda?
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 5, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a development agreement with Amazon Services, LLC, providing for the sale and redevelopment of property located in Springfield Township at 2280 Picton Parkway, finding such property is not needed for any public use and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco,
Request of the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. We're very excited about this one. Our folks in economic development and planning, Sean Volman, et cetera, worked on this. It's taken a bit of time, but this is a sale of property for our typical price of $25,000 per acre for Amazon, for another Amazon facility to be located in the city of Akron to the tune of about 200 jobs. This is also located within the JED. This is going to bring $31 million of new construction into the city of Akron. I should say Springfield, but a JED. But it's good news, I think, for the region, not only Akron, but the region itself. And it's going to be located at 2280 Picton Parkway. Springfield approved the zoning on it as well. And so we're excited about this, and we're recommending approval tonight.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 6, offered by Fusco. Ordinance levying special assessments and determining to proceed with public improvements and public services for the Downtown Akron Special Improvement District in accordance with Ordinance Number 100/2024, which approved the Downtown Akron Special Improvement District Plan for services to be provided by the Downtown Akron Special Improvement District, Inc. for 2025 to 2029, all when and where necessary, all together with the necessary appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 7, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the Director of the Department of Planning and Urban Development to enter into a contract with Habitat for Humanity of Summit County for the construction of the Silver Maple Ridge development of 16 affordable single-family homes for low-income families in Akron, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 8, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee, without the formality of publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts with North Hill Community Development Corporation for the renovation of 771 North Main Street, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 9, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to file applications and to enter into agreements for funding of certain capital improvements under the Ohio Public Works Commission's Local Transportation Improvement Program and the State Capital Improvements Program, committing city funds for the local share of these improvements, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you. This is asking the state of Ohio through the Ohio Public Works Commission, Local Transportation Improvement Program. There's a number of capital programs that we're hoping to do in the very near future. Concrete Street Program, we're all aware of the need for that. North Main Street, the Complete Street, South Main Street Phase 3, sanitary sewer reconstruction, and the sodium hypocal, I'm not going to pronounce it right, feed system, right, Mr. Luddle? The feed system, just say that. Okay, I knew somebody in the room could pronounce that correctly. But yeah, and this is, if we're successful with this, stacking all the other funds on top of this, it would be about $35 million of improvements in our city. So hopefully we're going to get all these funded. Keep your fingers crossed. But we're recommending approval so we can get the application in.
Okay, thank you. If there are no objections, the rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 10, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for, and if awarded, accept and expend grant funds associated with lead hazard reduction from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 11, offered by Kamer. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2022 Phase 1 Residential Resurfacing Program by resurfacing such streets with asphaltic concrete 402-404, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules, please.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This one and the next two are in regards to moving forward to assess the property owners for the residential resurfacing program from 2022, but was completed in 2023. With that, we're asking for passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 12, offered by Kamer. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2022 Phase 1 Arterial Collector Program by resurfacing such streets with asphaltic concrete 402, 404, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This is from the 2022 program, was completed last year in 2023, but focuses on arterial collector streets.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 13, offered by Kamer. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2022 Phase 1 Unimproved Street Resurfacing Program by treating the surface thereof with substances designed to preserve the surface and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This is from our 2022 program, was completed last year to move forward with assessments and for unimproved street resurfacing. Thanks.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 14, offered by Kamer. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2023 Phase 1 Residential Resurfacing Program by resurfacing such streets with asphaltic concrete 402, 404, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules, please.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. This is to move forward with the assessments for the 2023 program that was completed last year. This one and the next two. Thank you.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 15, offered by Kamer. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2023 Phase 1 Arterial Collector Program by resurfacing such streets with asphaltic concrete 402, 404, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules, please.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This is to move forward with the assessments from last year's program that was completed last year, and this focuses on the arterial collector streets.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 16, offered by Kamer. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini, 2023 Phase 1 Unimproved Street Resurfacing Program by treating the surface thereof with substances designed to preserve the surface and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This is to move forward with the assessments from the 2023 program, and this focuses on the unimproved street resurfacing.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 17, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into contracts without the formality of advertising for bids to purchase technology that will modernize and streamline snow and ice operations and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 18, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts utilizing Sourcewell's cooperative sourcing contract with Safeware, Inc. for the purchase of training equipment to prepare employees to respond during snow and ice events and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 19, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for improvements to the water mains on Arborwood Drive and Glen Echo Drive in the City of Akron water service area in Hudson, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 20, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract after publicly advertising for bids or requesting and receiving quotes or requests for proposals for facility improvements at community centers and downtown buildings to prevent and/or repair water leaks and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 21, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the purchase of 2 substation transformers for the water reclamation facility and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 22, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts with Summit Metro Parks relating to the repair and improvements to the University Avenue Bridge and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 23, offered by Kamer. Ordinance declaring the necessity of determining to proceed with and levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets in the city by constructing, reconstructing, and repairing concrete sidewalks, driveway approaches, curbs, retaining walls, and installing roof drain pipes, all in accordance with petitions submitted by property owners under the 2022 citywide sidewalk program and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules, please.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This is to move forward with the assessments from the 2022 sidewalk program. We had roughly 218 addresses that were part of this program, and with that, we're asking for approval.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
This ordinance passes 11-0. Item number 24, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and, if awarded, accept and expend grant funding from the U.S. Department of Transportation Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Grant and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item 24A, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for construction of the Renewable Energy Facility Polymer System Improvements Project and construction management services related thereto and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 25, offered by McKittrick. Ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept and expend a Violence Against Women Act grant administered by the Office of Criminal Justice Services, authorizing the Director of Law to enter into agreements with Oriana House, Inc. to implement the grant by continuing to fund 2 investigators for the Domestic Violence Unit and declaring an emergency.
Councilman McKittrick.
Consent agenda, please.
Thank you. This item will be placed on the consent agenda. That does conclude our new legislation for this evening. We'll now move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman McKittrick.
2 p.m.
Public Safety, Councilman McKittrick.
2:15.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Lombardo.
3 p.m.
Parks and Recreation, Councilwoman Connor. Planning Economic Development, Councilman Fusco. Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco. Public Service, Councilman Kamer. Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian. Is there anything else coming before council at this time? We have a motion to adjourn. If there are no objections, meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.